Hey, what is up everybody? This is Ken from Mid-Level Media, and today we are going to be reviewing and talking about Casablanca on 4K. This is the latest release from Warner Brothers, and I am very excited to talk about this one. We're going to talk about the movie briefly, how my thoughts may or may not have changed since the first time that I watched it. Then we're going to dive into this 4K restoration by Warner Brothers. We're going to talk about the sound a little bit, also special features, the packaging. We're going to paint an overall picture of this entire 4K release and let you know if it's worth picking up. This is actually going to be out. It's actually releasing the day that I plan on dropping this video on November the 8th. So I will be linking a link to the 4K copy on Amazon. If you do want to purchase it based on my recommendation, it is now currently available for $23.79. So before we get into talking about this release, guys, I need to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the channel, first off, hit the subscribe button. If you like 4Ks and Blu-rays and physical media and owning the movies that you love, you will definitely enjoy this channel. So hit the subscribe button. Also be sure to like this video and comment down below, guys, what's your thoughts on Casablanca? Like, this is an all-time classic. This is a big film right here. It's celebrating its 80th anniversary this year. So what's your thoughts on it? How do you feel about the movie? And also, do you plan on picking this up? Let me know that too in the comment section below. Maybe you already picked it up. Maybe you got it in early. What do you think of the 4K restoration? Let me know. Let me know all that in the comment section below, and then turn on the bell notification. So let's jump right into it, guys. So I watched Casablanca for the first time actually about 4 or 5 years ago, and I watched this Blu-ray version. This is from 2012. This was the 70th anniversary edition that came out in 2012. I watched it a few years ago. I honestly, look, I'll never lie to you people. I will never lie to you guys about anything. I'm going to tell you straight up what I think of a film, even if it's an all-time classic, and I have to be honest here. I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. I appreciate it. I appreciated it, but I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't get engaged to it. It wasn't that it was slow or anything like that. I've watched tons of classic films that I've engaged with. It was just this particular movie with this particular story I just couldn't vibe with. So how did I feel on the rewatch? Watching it in 4K, which we'll get into this stunning 4K transfer here in a second, but I still feel mostly the same. I may have liked it a little bit more because I think I was able to pick out, some more stuff that I appreciate about it from when I watched it the first time. So I still largely appreciate it more than I enjoy it. It feels like a grand, larger than life like movie. Like it is a true American classic, and it feels that way when you're watching it. Like it does feel like a big movie. But the story just doesn't resonate with me. I love Ingrid Bergman and her performance. Humphrey Bogart is awesome in this movie. I definitely need to check out more Humphrey Bogart for sure, like the Maltese Falcon. I've heard incredible things about. I know he's a big actor, but he's just one of those big actors, classic actors I haven't really dove into a lot of. Like, this is the only film of his that I've seen. It's not like Cary Grant or Jimmy Stewart. I've seen quite a few movies from both of them, but this is another big actor from the classic era that I have not dove into a lot of. So definitely need to do that. Also Ingrid Bergman as well. I don't know if I've seen her in anything else either, but they're both fantastic. I'm not going to take anything away from their performances. They're both super charming, charismatic individuals. Their performances are great and awesome in this movie. I just didn't feel the chemistry necessarily between the two of them either. It's just the story. Like, the story to me is it's a little icky because it is very much a forbidden love story. It's these two characters that are coming together. She was married and she thought her husband died, and then she got with Humphrey Bogart, and then her husband comes back and turns out he wasn't dead, but she had fallen in love with Humphrey Bogart, and then he has to let her go, and then they run back into each other, Casablanca, in this movie. So it is kind of like this forbidden love situation, and it just feels kind of wrong to me because her husband's not a bad dude. So it's like, I just don't like stories like that necessarily. I just don't really engage and vibe with it. It's hard to feel sympathy for a love that's based in basically adultery, in my opinion. So, and again, that's probably a very narrow viewpoint to have of this movie. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that. I'm sure if I rewatch this movie more and more, I can probably get more into it. But That's kind of what I've gotten from it, just on a surface level at this point. It is very well directed by Michael Curtiz, who has directed almost 200 movies, and I had no idea until I looked it up. I looked up his IMDb. This dude has been directing movies. Of course, he's not directing anymore, but he had been directing movies since like 1915. This guy was born in the late 1800s. He is from Hungary, and again, I had no idea any of this, and I looked it up. I was about ready to call him Michael Curtis, but it is Michael Curtiz, and I'm trying to pronounce people's names a little bit more correctly lately. I'm trying to do my research a little bit better, but he has directed almost 200 movies. My favorite movie of his is still, it's not Casablanca, and I know this is the film, like a lot of people say, this is Michael Curtiz's masterpiece. Like, this is the movie, this is his legacy. And again, I would agree with that in a broad sense. Like, most people probably know him, probably appreciate him as a director for Casablanca. Me personally, I love the movie White Christmas. I've been watching that movie since I was a kid. That movie is just, it's so awesome. I hope White Christmas gets a 4K at some point. I would love that. But I love the movie White Christmas. The music's great in it. So that's my favorite Michael Curtiz film, not Casablanca. But again, these are the only two movies I've seen of this director. He's directed some other movies. He directed like a Robin Hood movie. He's just directed so many movies. Definitely one of the most prolific directors of all time. People always talk about Hitchcock and Spielberg, but look at Michael Curtiz's filmography. Like, damn, did this dude work. So yeah, I thought he did an excellent job. And again, by this point, he had been directing for 30 years. So I'm sure like just on a technical level, he was firing on all cylinders. The movie just, it has all kinds of classic lines. Just, I feel like I've known of this movie my entire life. Again, only recently watched it. And the first movie I think to quote this that I remember is a movie that I watched all the time when I was a kid, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 2, Secret of the Ooze. I think Michelangelo like quotes it to April or something.
Two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world, Elsa. That's why you're getting on that plane. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
You know, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, and then the "here's looking at you, kid," and all that kind of stuff. So this has so many iconic, like, classic lines that when you hear them, you're like, oh, that feels cliche. But you're like, no, it came from this movie, so it's not cliche. It came from this movie. So there's so many of those moments in this film. But everybody's great in this movie. It's a very well-directed movie. It's a very well performed, very well acted, very well shot. Everything about this movie on a technical level is perfect. But I can't get into the story. I don't know. It's just I guess it's just a personal thing. Now, getting into the actual transfer of this release, this was a native 4K transfer with HDR. The aspect ratio was 1:37:1. Now, I do have the press release that was sent to me because this was sent to me for review from Warner Brothers, and they wrote the following here because they did not have access to the original camera negative. I don't think it exists anymore. So they had to, this was a 4K 16-bit film scan of the best surviving nitrate film elements. The 4K scanned digital images went through an extensive digital restoration process to clean and repair the picture for an unprecedented and pristine ultra high resolution presentation. The restored images were then graded in HDR for today's premium 4K display experience, providing the highest fidelity and image contrast and detail retention. So again, this was not, restored from the original camera negative. They did not have access to that, so they had to kind of work with what they had here. But look, for what they had to work with and for what they did, this is really, honestly, a stunning 4K restoration by Warner Brothers. And I know that they felt the pressure to really do a good job on this one. Again, it's such a classic movie that has such a legacy. And you just have to think that Warner Brothers, like going into Casablanca, the movie with this level of prestige, like they were not going to screw this up. They were going to do everything in their power to, give this the best possible restoration of their ability. And they absolutely did that. Like, this was an absolute stunning restoration. And I knew that it would be. I'm just so into black and white and 4K at this point. Like, I love every single time a black and white 4K gets announced, I chomp at the bit to watch it because I'm just falling in love with these black and white 4K restorations. Like, what they're able to do with the shadows and the lights with the addition of that HDR is just really incredible and just really remarkable. And I would say this is a top 3 like black and white 4K restoration for me. Like, it's up there with Psycho. It's up there with Raging Bull from the Criterion Collection. It's just such a stunning release. And yeah, I'm so impressed with what they can do with these black and white 4K transfers. Like some of the close-up images of Humphrey Bogart, like when he's sitting at that bar and he's like brooding and it's like dark and it's not very well lit, but you can see the shadows and the lights and the close-ups on his face. It just looks amazing. Like everything about this 4K presentation is just absolutely remarkable. The contrast and the black levels, like the blacks are just so deep. They're so inky. They just look so incredible. And it just, everything about this is superb to me. Very little grain. Like I was thinking that there would probably be a little film grain here and there, especially in some of these, you know, wide shot, like cinematography images of the city and stuff like that, and of the runway. But everything looks so incredibly clear, so incredibly pristine. I just can't say enough good things about this. Like this is definitely a top black and white 4K disc, a black and white 4K presentation. Warner Brothers really did an excellent job restoring this, and with the, you know, materials that they had, they just did such an incredible job. So Warner Brothers, you know, say what you want about them, I think they could do more with their catalog stuff, you know, restoring some of the older movies and Blu-ray and stuff like that. But when they really put their mind to it and they do a 4K restoration, like they do a 4K restoration, and I will be doing tons of Warner Brothers reviews up and coming, so I'm really looking forward to that. Gonna be diving into a lot of the Christmas classics very soon, but yeah, this looked great, looked absolutely fantastic. Warner Brothers did an excellent job with this 4K restoration. And let's jump right into the sound. So Warner Brothers did completely restore the original theatrical mono audio. So the sound, to me, I'm listening to it on my soundbar, was crystal clear without any imperfections. You know, sometimes you can watch some of these older classic movies, and getting back into the 4K restoration just a little bit, I'm just so impressed sometimes when I go back and watch a movie from 80 years ago. And again, talking about the 4K restoration and the way that it looks like a movie with like modern actors in 4K. Like it looked that incredible. This feels like a movie just watching it. It feels like something they filmed like last week, and they colored it in black and white, or they decolored it in black and white and put it out to modern audiences. Like that's how good this 4K restoration is, just super clean. And again, the same with the audio. It all sounded crystal clear without any imperfections. The score by Max Steiner is great and so classic. Like some of the beats of that score, I feel like I've heard in a lot of different stuff over the years, but it's such a classic score and absolutely fantastic. Getting into the packaging of this, and we'll get into a little bit of controversy here. This is a very nice slipcover. I do like this slipcover by Warner Brothers. They usually do awesome slipcovers with some very nice and glossy finishes, but this is not an actual image of Humphrey Bogart from the film. He's never wearing this black jacket with the bow tie on it throughout the entire movie. So it's a very odd image to put front and center on your cover. And some people were speculating that this was Humphrey Bogart from a completely different movie. I don't know what they did. Maybe they just found the best image of him that they thought would look good on the cover and just was hoping that nobody would notice. But they had to know the diehards of this movie would be able to tell, and they absolutely did. I don't think I would if nobody even pointed it out to me. And I forgot to mention, this movie won Best Picture as well. This is a Best Picture winner, winner of 3 Academy Awards, actually. And I always love when they put that kind of stuff on the front as well. Super awesome. You know, taking it out there, you do have right here the 4K case. I will remove the digital code. I'll probably give that away at a later date. I like that there's a little discard action on here. Sometimes they don't always put the discard on these, you know, studio releases, so I do appreciate that. You get the 4K and the Blu-ray in this set. And getting into the special features, there are tons of special features in this set, but they are all ported over from previous releases. And I think that all of them are actually on this 2012 Blu-ray right here, but there are tons of ported over commentaries. There's 2 audio commentaries. There's documentaries. I think there's like 4 or 5 documentaries are like 30-40 minutes long. There's a bunch of featurettes. Some are in standard definition because I think they're from the DVD days, and some are in HD, but they're all on the Blu-ray, and it's probably something like 4 to 5 hours of special features. So again, though, even with all those special features, those are special features that exist, that have existed before. I still, again, for the 80th anniversary of such a revered classic film, you would think that they would want to do something new. Again, You don't have to put a whole lot into it. You don't have to give me like 6 new interviews, a new audio commentary, but just something. Give me something, maybe a new introduction to the movie by somebody, maybe a film historian. I don't know. A new interview. I don't care. Just somebody talking about the movie in a retrospective sense. It is the 80th anniversary. I expect at least one thing new, and they did not give it to us. But again, that's a minor gripe. Again, there's tons of special features here. Overall, this has to be an absolute recommendation. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie itself. You guys can say what you want about that in the comment section below. I'm sure you'll have something to say about it. I'm just not the biggest fan of it, but even taking that into account, I'm still happy I have it in the collection. It looks great. If you are a big fan of this movie, you are going to be extremely satisfied and happy with this 4K release. So absolute recommendation. Again, I will link this down below to purchase. It is available right now for $23.79. So thank you all so much for watching my review of Casablanca on 4K. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below your thoughts on the movie. Follow me on all my social media accounts down below and turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and we'll see you next time.